Asia is a continent of extraordinary contrasts. It is the largest and most populated continent on Earth, home to ancient civilizations, thousands of languages, some of the world's largest cities, and landscapes ranging from tropical islands and vast deserts to the highest mountains on the planet. Here, centuries-old temples stand beside futuristic skylines. Ancient trade routes cross remote mountain ranges, while volcanoes, monsoons, rivers, and oceans have shaped both the land and the cultures that developed upon it. Across this journey, we'll discover 50 remarkable places that reveal just how diverse Asia really is, through their history, geography, architecture, traditions, and natural wonders. Tokyo, Japan, where tradition meets the future. Few cities capture modern Asia quite like Tokyo. More than 14 million people live within the metropolis, while the wider urban region is the largest on Earth. Shibuya and Shinjuku represent Tokyo's famous energy: towering buildings, enormous railway stations, restaurants, shops, and streets illuminated long after sunset. Yet Tokyo's older traditions are never far away. Sensoji traces its origins back nearly 1,400 years, while the forest surrounding Meiji Shrine creates a remarkable sense of calm within one of the world's busiest cities. Tokyo's identity comes from this contrast: ancient traditions existing comfortably alongside technology and constant reinvention. Ha Long Bay, Vietnam. Vietnam's limestone labyrinth. Thousands of limestone islands rise dramatically from the waters of northern Vietnam. Ha Long Bay's towers, caves, cliffs, and hidden lagoons were gradually shaped by erosion over millions of years, creating one of Southeast Asia's most distinctive landscapes. Its name translates roughly as Descending Dragon, connecting the bay with Vietnamese legends of dragons sent to protect the country. Fishing communities have lived among these islands for generations, while boats remain the best way to navigate the narrow passages between towering formations. It's a landscape where mythology and geology seem perfectly suited to one another. Taj Mahal and Agra, India. A monument to an empire. Standing beside the Yamuna River, the Taj Mahal was commissioned in the 17th century by Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan following the death of his wife, Mumtaz Mahal. Its white marble architecture combines Persian, Islamic, Indian, and Central Asian influences, decorated with intricate carvings, calligraphy, and stone inlay. But Agra's importance extends beyond the Taj Mahal. Nearby, Agra Fort once served as a major center of Mughal power when the empire controlled much of the Indian subcontinent. Together, they preserve the architectural legacy of one of Asia's most influential dynasties. Palawan, Philippines. Islands at the edge of the Pacific. Palawan stretches along the western Philippines, surrounded by limestone islands, coral reefs, tropical forests, and remarkably clear water. Around El Nido, towering karst cliffs conceal beaches and lagoons accessible primarily by boat. Farther north, Coron is known for limestone lakes and Second World War shipwrecks that have become important diving sites. Palawan is also one of the Philippines' richest areas for biodiversity, with forests and marine ecosystems supporting species found nowhere else. It feels remote, but its natural history is remarkably complex. The Great Wall of China, a fortress across the mountains. The Great Wall is not one continuous structure built at a single moment. It is a vast network of fortifications constructed and rebuilt by different Chinese states and dynasties over centuries. Many of its best-preserved sections date from the Ming dynasty, when walls, watchtowers, and fortresses strengthened China's northern frontier. Near Beijing, sections such as Mutianyu and Jinshanling follow steep mountain ridges for kilometer after kilometer. The landscape makes the achievement even more impressive. Rather than simply crossing the mountains, the wall became part of them. Bali, Indonesia. Volcanoes, temples, and rice terraces. Bali's famous beaches tell only part of its story. Volcanic mountains dominate the island's interior, creating fertile soils where generations of farmers developed elaborate rice terraces. Water is distributed through the traditional Subak irrigation system, which connects agriculture, community cooperation, and Balinese Hindu philosophy. That Hindu heritage makes Bali culturally distinctive within Indonesia, the world's largest Muslim-majority country. Temples, ceremonies, offerings, rice fields, forests, and volcanoes remain closely connected to everyday life. Bali isn't simply a tropical destination. It's a cultural landscape shaped over centuries. Seoul, South Korea. Ancient palaces, modern Korea. Seoul has transformed dramatically within a single lifetime. Today, it is a global center of technology, fashion, entertainment, and Korean popular culture. Yet reminders of its royal past remain throughout the city. Gyeongbokgung Palace dates back to the Joseon dynasty, while Bukchon preserves traditional Korean hanok houses among modern neighborhoods. The Han River divides the enormous metropolis, with mountains rising around its edges. Few cities demonstrate the speed of modern Asian development while keeping centuries of history so visible. Angkor Wat, Cambodia. The heart of the Khmer Empire. Hidden within the forests of Cambodia lies Angkor, once the center of the powerful Khmer Empire. Angkor Wat was constructed during the 12th century and originally dedicated to the Hindu god Vishnu before becoming an important Buddhist site. Its 5 central towers symbolize Mount Meru, the sacred mountain of Hindu cosmology. But Angkor extends far beyond a single temple. At Bayon, enormous stone faces overlook the ruins, while at Ta Prohm, tree roots have grown through ancient walls. Together, these monuments reveal the scale and sophistication of one of pre-modern Asia's greatest urban civilizations. Cappadocia, Turkey. Cities carved into stone. Cappadocia's strange valleys were created from volcanic material gradually sculpted by wind and water. The result is a landscape of pillars, cones, cliffs, and formations known as fairy chimneys. For centuries, people carved directly into this soft volcanic rock, creating homes, churches, monasteries, and entire underground settlements. Some underground cities descend several levels beneath the surface and once provided shelter for large communities. Today, hot air balloons have become Cappadocia's most recognizable image. But beneath them lies thousands of years of human history carved directly into the landscape. Kyoto, Japan. The cultural heart of Japan. Kyoto served as Japan's imperial capital for more than 1,000 years. That history survives through temples, shrines, gardens, traditional neighborhoods, and centuries-old customs. Thousands of vermilion gates climb the forest at Fushimi Inari, while Kinkakuji, the Golden Pavilion, reflects across its carefully designed pond. In Gion, wooden machiya townhouses preserve part of the atmosphere of historic Kyoto. The city remains closely associated with Buddhist traditions, tea culture, craftsmanship, seasonal festivals, and classical Japanese architecture. If Tokyo represents Japan's transformation, Kyoto reveals many of the traditions beneath it. Bangkok, Thailand. Life along the Chao Phraya. Bangkok grew around the Chao Phraya River, which remains one of the city's great transportation arteries. Along its banks stand some of Thailand's most important landmarks. The Grand Palace served Thailand's monarchy for generations, while nearby Wat Phra Kaeo houses the sacred Emerald Buddha. Across the river, Wat Arun rises above the waterfront. Beyond its temples, Bangkok is famous for street food, markets, canals, neighborhoods, and a metropolitan energy that rarely seems to stop. Royal history and everyday street life exist side by side. Petra, Jordan. The Rose City. Hidden among the sandstone mountains of southern Jordan, Petra was once the capital of the Nabatean kingdom. Its most famous monument, the Treasury, appears dramatically at the end of the narrow canyon known as the Sikh. But Petra contains much more: tombs, temples, stairways, ceremonial spaces, and structures carved directly into the surrounding cliffs. The Nabateans also developed sophisticated systems for capturing and storing water, allowing a major trading city to prosper in an extremely dry environment. Petra's success came from trade, engineering, and an extraordinary ability to adapt to the desert. Zhangjiajie, China. China's Forest of Stone. Thousands of sandstone pillars rise above the forests of Zhangjiajie in central China. Weathering and erosion gradually sculpted these formations over millions of years, leaving some towers standing hundreds of meters above the valleys. Mist frequently settles between them, creating the illusion of mountains floating above the forest. Walking trails, cable cars, viewpoints, and mountain pathways now provide access to a landscape that once seemed almost unreachable. Zhangjiajie looks like fantasy. Its origins, however, are entirely geological. Sapa, Vietnam. Mountains shaped by agriculture. Near Vietnam's northern border, steep valleys are covered with rice terraces carved into the mountainsides. These terraces allow farmers to cultivate slopes that would otherwise be extremely difficult to use. The surrounding region is home to Hmong, Dao, Thai, Jie, and other communities with distinct languages and cultural traditions. Above them rises Phan Xipang, the highest mountain in Vietnam. Throughout the year, Sapa constantly changes, from reflective flooded terraces to deep green fields and finally golden slopes before harvest. It's one of Asia's clearest examples of agriculture becoming part of the landscape itself. Mount Fuji, Japan. Japan's sacred volcano. At 3,776 meters, Mount Fuji is Japan's highest mountain. Its almost symmetrical volcanic cone has inspired pilgrims, poets, and artists for centuries. Fuji became particularly famous through Japanese woodblock prints, including the work of Katsushika Hokusai, whose images helped introduce the mountain to audiences around the world. Today, visitors climb its slopes during summer or view it from the lakes and forests surrounding its base. Fuji is both a geological landmark and a deeply important cultural symbol. Ladakh, India. India's high-altitude desert. Between the Himalayas and Karakoram lies Ladakh, a region of barren mountains, Buddhist monasteries, deep valleys, and high-altitude lakes. Much of the landscape receives little rainfall because the Himalayas block moisture arriving from the south. Yet communities have survived here for centuries, using rivers, snowmelt, and carefully managed agriculture. Tibetan Buddhism has strongly influenced the region, with monasteries such as Thixi and Hemis overlooking remote valleys. Ladakh's isolation has created one of India's most distinctive cultural and geographic regions. Hong Kong, a city between mountains and sea. Hong Kong's skyscrapers rise from an unusually dramatic landscape. Victoria Harbour separates Hong Kong Island from Kowloon, while steep mountains surround some of the world's densest urban neighborhoods. But beyond the skyline are beaches, islands, fishing villages, hiking trails, and protected countryside. Its culture reflects centuries of Cantonese tradition, international commerce, migration, and British colonial history. Few cities place intense urban life and rugged nature so close together. Singapore, Asia's global crossroads. Singapore's position near the Strait of Malacca helped transform a small island into one of the world's most important trading centers. Today, futuristic landmarks such as Marina Bay Sands and Gardens by the Bay represent its modern identity. But neighborhoods such as Chinatown, Little India, and Kampong Glam reveal the cultures that built the city. That diversity is perhaps most visible in Singapore's hawker centers, where Chinese, Malay, Indian, and other culinary traditions meet. Dense, modern, multicultural, and remarkably green, Singapore shows an entirely different side of Asia. Bagan, Myanmar. The Plain of Temples. Thousands of Buddhist monuments once covered the plains of Bagan beside Myanmar's Irrawaddy River. More than 2,000 temples, stupas, and monasteries survive today. Most were constructed between the 11th and 13th centuries, when Bagan became the political and religious heart of the pagan kingdom. Their brick silhouettes stretch across an otherwise open landscape, particularly striking in the early morning and evening light. Bagan isn't simply one monument. It's an entire historic landscape shaped by centuries of Buddhist devotion. Luang Prabang, Laos, a city between two rivers. At the meeting point of the Mekong and Nam Khan rivers lies Luang Prabang, one of Southeast Asia's best preserved historic cities. Its old center combines traditional Lao architecture, Buddhist monasteries, and buildings dating from the French colonial period. Wat Sieng Thong is among its most important temples, while Buddhist monastic traditions remain visible throughout the city. Beyond town, Kwangsi Falls descends through turquoise limestone pools, surrounded by tropical forest. Luang Prabang's appeal comes from its scale. History, religion, architecture, and river life remain closely connected. Everest region, Nepal. The roof of the world. Mount Everest rises 8,848 meters above sea level on the border between Nepal and Tibet. But the surrounding region is far more than one famous summit. Trails pass through forests, glacial valleys, suspension bridges, monasteries, and Sherpa communities whose history in these mountains extends for generations. Namche Bazaar developed along historic trade routes, while Tengboche remains an important center of Tibetan Buddhism. Above them rise Amadablam, Lhotse, Nuptse, and eventually Everest itself. Here, altitude shapes nearly every part of life. Chiang Mai, Thailand. Temples of northern Thailand. Surrounded by mountains in northern Thailand, Chiang Mai was founded in 1296 as the capital of the Lanna Kingdom. Remnants of its defensive walls and moat still surround the historic center, where hundreds of Buddhist temples reflect centuries of northern Thai culture. Wat Phra Sing is known for its Lanna architecture, while Wat Phra That Doi Suthep overlooks the city from the mountains above. Beyond the temples, Chiang Mai is known for traditional crafts, night markets, distinctive northern cuisine, and nearby mountain communities. It offers a quieter contrast to Bangkok while revealing a different chapter of Thailand's history. The Forbidden City, China. Inside Imperial China. At the center of Beijing stands an enormous palace complex that served China's emperors for almost 5 centuries. Construction of the Forbidden City began in 1406 during the Ming Dynasty. Nearly 1,000 surviving buildings are arranged around monumental courtyards, ceremonial halls, gates, and private residences. Red walls and golden roofs dominate the complex, while its layout reflects traditional ideas about hierarchy, balance, and imperial authority. For generations, access to much of this world was tightly controlled. Today, it is the Palace Museum and one of the greatest surviving collections of traditional Chinese architecture. Borobudur, Indonesia. The world's great Buddhist monument. Rising from the forests of central Java, Borobudur was constructed during the 8th and 9th centuries. Rather than functioning like a conventional temple with one large interior space, Borobudur was designed as an enormous 3-dimensional Buddhist journey. Visitors ascend through multiple levels decorated with thousands of carved relief panels before reaching circular terraces filled with bell-shaped stupas. The structure represents a symbolic progression toward enlightenment. For centuries, Borobudur was largely hidden beneath vegetation and volcanic material before being brought back to wider attention and extensively restored. Today, mountains and volcanoes surround one of the greatest Buddhist monuments ever constructed. Varanasi, India. India's sacred city on the Ganges. For thousands of years, Varanasi has stood beside the Ganges River as one of Hinduism's most sacred cities. Stone steps, known as ghats, descend toward the water, where everyday life and religious practice unfold side by side. Pilgrims travel here to bathe in the Ganges, perform rituals, pray, and honor deceased family members. At sunrise, boats move quietly along the river as temples and historic buildings emerge from the morning haze. Varanasi can be intense, crowded, spiritual, and deeply complex. Few places reveal the relationship between religion, life, death, and the sacred landscape of India so openly. AlUla, Saudi Arabia. Arabia's ancient desert crossroads. Among the sandstone cliffs of northwestern Saudi Arabia lies AlUla, a region that once stood along important trading routes through Arabia. Its most famous archaeological site is Hegra, where the Nabateans carved monumental tombs directly into sandstone outcrops around 2,000 years ago. The same civilization built Petra hundreds of kilometers to the north. But AlUla's history reaches even further back. Ancient inscriptions, settlements, rock art, and archaeological remains reveal thousands of years of human activity across this desert landscape. Today, dramatic rock formations surround an area that is only beginning to become widely known internationally. Krabi and Railay, Thailand, where limestone meets the Andaman Sea. On Thailand's Andaman coast, enormous limestone cliffs rise directly from turquoise water. Krabi province contains hundreds of islands, caves, beaches, and karst formations created through millions of years of erosion. Railay is one of its most recognizable landscapes. Although connected to the mainland, towering cliffs make the peninsula effectively accessible only by boat. Those same cliffs have also made Railay one of Asia's best-known rock climbing destinations. Nearby, long-tail boats travel between islands surrounded by coral reefs and tropical water. Here, the geology familiar from inland Southeast Asia continues directly into the sea. Kathmandu Valley, Nepal. Temples beneath the Himalayas. Long before trekkers began arriving on their way to Everest, the Kathmandu Valley was already one of South Asia's great cultural centers. Kathmandu, Patan, and Bhaktapur developed around palace squares, temples, courtyards, and dense historic neighborhoods. Hinduism and Buddhism have existed side by side here for centuries. At Buddhanath, an enormous Buddhist stupa dominates the surrounding neighborhood, while Pashupatinath is among the most sacred Hindu temple complexes in Nepal. The valley's Nuar communities also developed distinctive traditions of architecture, wood carving, metalwork, and religious art. Kathmandu is often treated simply as the gateway to Nepal's mountains, but its cultural history deserves a journey of its own. Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. A city of many cultures, Kuala Lumpur grew rapidly from a 19th-century settlement into one of Southeast Asia's major capitals. Today, the Petronas Twin Towers dominate its skyline, symbolizing Malaysia's modern development. But at street level, The city's character is much more diverse. Malay, Chinese, Indian, and other communities have shaped its architecture, religious life, neighborhoods, and food. Mosques stand near Hindu and Chinese temples, while markets and food streets reveal influences from across the region. Istanbul, Turkey, the city between continents. Few cities occupy a geographic position as important as Istanbul. The Bosphorus divides its European and Asian sides while connecting the Black Sea with the Mediterranean world. That location helped make the city the capital of both the Byzantine and Ottoman empires. Hagia Sophia reflects this layered history, having served at different times as a cathedral, mosque, museum, and mosque again. Nearby, the Blue Mosque, Topkapi Palace, Grand Bazaar, and ancient underground cisterns reveal different chapters of the city's past. Ferries still cross constantly between continents. In Istanbul, geography isn't simply part of the scenery. It explains why the city mattered for centuries. Mount Bromo, Indonesia. Volcanoes of East Java. Mount Bromo rises from an enormous volcanic landscape in East Java. The volcano itself is only one part of the Tengger Massif, where multiple peaks surround a vast caldera filled with volcanic sand. Bromo remains active, periodically releasing smoke and ash from its crater. The region is also home to the Tenggerese people, who maintain Hindu traditions and hold the annual Yajna Kasada ceremony at the volcano. During the festival, offerings are carried toward Bromo's crater as part of a centuries-old religious tradition. Here, volcanic geology and spiritual belief remain closely connected. Dubai, United Arab Emirates, a city reinvented. Within several generations, Dubai transformed from a regional trading and pearling center into one of the world's most recognizable cities. Its skyline is dominated by the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building on Earth, rising more than 800 meters above the city. Artificial islands, enormous shopping centers, modern transit systems, and ambitious architecture have reshaped the coastline. But older Dubai remains visible around Dubai Creek. For generations, wooden dhows connected this port with trading communities across Arabia, Persia, India, and East Africa. That contrast between old commercial routes and extreme modern development tells the real story of Dubai. The Maldives. Islands built by coral. The Maldives consists of more than 1,000 coral islands spread across the Indian Ocean. Most rise only a few meters above sea level. These islands formed around coral reef systems associated with ancient volcanic structures, eventually creating the ring-shaped atolls visible today. Beneath the water are reef ecosystems inhabited by manta rays, sharks, turtles, and tropical fish. But the country's low elevation also makes it particularly vulnerable to rising sea levels and coastal erosion. The Maldives may appear timeless from the surface. Geologically and environmentally, however, these islands exist in a remarkably delicate balance with the ocean. Hoi An, Vietnam. A trading port preserved in time. Along Vietnam's central coast, Hoi An preserves the architecture of a trading port that once connected merchants from across Asia and beyond. Between the 15th and 19th centuries, Chinese, Japanese and European traders passed through the town. Their influence remains visible in wooden merchant houses, temples, assembly halls, and the Japanese-covered bridge. At night, lanterns illuminate the narrow streets along the Thubon River. But Hoi An's significance comes from more than its appearance. Its architecture preserves evidence of the maritime trade networks that connected Southeast Asia long before modern tourism arrived. Komodo National Park, Land of the Dragons. Across a group of rugged islands in eastern Indonesia lives the largest lizard on Earth. The Komodo dragon can grow to around 3 meters in length and is found naturally only in a small part of this region. Komodo National Park was established partly to protect these extraordinary reptiles, but its landscapes are equally remarkable. Dry hills descend toward turquoise bays, coral reefs surround the islands, and manta rays move through the surrounding waters. The park sits within the Indonesian archipelago, where isolation helped create unusual ecosystems and species found nowhere else. Shanghai, China, where old China meets the future. Shanghai is one of the clearest symbols of China's rapid transformation. Along the Huangpu River, the futuristic towers of Pudong face the Bund, where grand buildings preserve the city's history as an international trading center. Beyond the skyline, traditional neighborhoods, temples, gardens, and narrow streets reveal an older Shanghai beneath the modern metropolis. Today, it is one of the world's largest cities and an important center of finance, commerce, design, and technology. Few places show China's transition from historic trading port to global megacity quite so dramatically. Phi Phi Islands, Thailand. Limestone islands of the Andaman Sea. Rising from the Andaman Sea, the Phi Phi Islands are defined by towering limestone cliffs, turquoise bays, coral reefs, and small pockets of white sand. Their dramatic geography was created over millions of years as water gradually eroded ancient limestone. Maya Bay became internationally famous through cinema, but heavy tourism eventually forced authorities to temporarily close the beach so its ecosystem could recover. Today, access is more carefully managed. Beyond the famous bay, boats move between caves, reefs, lagoons, and steep islands that make this one of Thailand's most recognizable seascapes. Nara, Japan. Japan's first permanent capital. Before Kyoto and Tokyo, there was Nara, established as Japan's permanent capital in 710. The city became an important center of government, culture, and Buddhism. Its most famous monument is Todaiji, an enormous wooden temple containing one of Japan's largest bronze Buddha statues. Nearby, hundreds of freely roaming deer have become symbols of the city. In Shinto tradition, deer were regarded as sacred messengers of the gods. Ancient temples, forests, gardens, and shrines make Nara one of the best places to experience Japan's earliest imperial history. Guilin and Yangshuo, China. Mountains along the Li River. Across southern China, limestone mountains rise almost vertically above rivers, villages, and farmland. The landscape around Guilin and Yangshuo has been shaped by water-dissolving limestone over millions of years. The Li River winds directly through these formations, creating one of China's most celebrated landscapes. Traditional boats, rural communities, rice fields, and distinctive karst peaks have inspired Chinese artists and poets for centuries. While China's megacities reveal the country's extraordinary modern transformation, Guilin and Yangshuo show a quieter landscape deeply embedded in Chinese art and cultural imagination. Busan, South Korea. Korea's city by the sea. South Korea's second-largest city stretches between mountains and the sea. Busan developed around one of the world's busiest ports, giving the city a strong maritime identity. Its coastline includes beaches such as Haeundae, while colorful Gamcheon Culture Village climbs across steep hillsides overlooking the city. At Haedong-yonggungsa, a Buddhist temple sits dramatically beside the ocean, rather than in the mountains, where Korean temples are more commonly found. Busan offers a very different side of South Korea, combining beaches, seafood markets, temples, mountains, and dense urban life along the coast. Udaipur, India. Rajasthan's city of lakes. Surrounded by the Aravalli Hills, Udaipur is one of Rajasthan's most distinctive cities. Its historic center developed around a series of artificial lakes created to provide water in an otherwise dry region. Above Lake Pichola rises the enormous city palace, built and expanded by generations of rulers from the Mewar dynasty. Palaces, temples, narrow streets, courtyards, and traditional havalis surround the waterfront. Perhaps most recognizable is the Lake Palace, appearing almost afloat on the water. Udaipur shows a very different side of India, one shaped by Rajput history, architecture, and life in the desert regions of Rajasthan. Doha, Qatar. From pearl diving to a global capital, Doha's modern skyline has emerged with extraordinary speed along the coast of the Persian Gulf. Before oil and natural gas transformed Qatar's economy, local communities relied heavily on fishing, maritime trade, and pearl diving. That history remains visible around Souk Waqif and the traditional dhow boats lining the waterfront. Nearby, the Museum of Islamic Art houses objects representing more than 1,000 years of artistic traditions from across the Islamic world. Modern towers now rise across the bay, illustrating how dramatically Qatar has changed within only a few generations. Osaka, Japan. Japan's kitchen. Osaka has long been one of Japan's great commercial cities. During the Edo period, its importance as a center for rice trading and food distribution earned it a reputation as the nation's kitchen. That food culture remains central today. Dotonbori is filled with restaurants and illuminated signs advertising local specialties such as takoyaki and okonomiyaki. Above the modern city stands Osaka Castle, originally constructed in the 16th century during the political unification of Japan. Less formal than Tokyo and very different from historic Kyoto, Osaka adds another personality to the Japanese experience: energetic, commercial, and deeply connected to food. Boracay, Philippines, the island that had to recover. Boracay is a small island, but its white beach became one of the most famous tropical coastlines in Asia. Fine white sand stretches beside clear water, while traditional Paror sailing boats cross the horizon. Its popularity, however, created serious environmental pressure. In 2018, the Philippine government temporarily closed the entire island to tourism, while infrastructure and environmental systems were improved. Boracay later reopened under tighter regulations. Its story makes it more than another beach destination. It's also an example of the difficult balance between tourism, local economies, and protecting the places travelers come to experience. Ayutthaya, Thailand, the ruins of a lost kingdom. North of Bangkok lie the ruins of Ayutthaya, once the capital of one of Southeast Asia's most powerful kingdoms. Founded in 1350, the city became an important center of international trade, connecting merchants from across Asia and Europe. Temples, monasteries, palaces, and enormous Buddha images filled the capital before it was largely destroyed during a Burmese invasion in 1767. Today, brick towers and temple ruins rise throughout the modern city. Ayutthaya provides a window into Thailand before Bangkok, and into a kingdom that once stood at the center of regional trade and diplomacy. Taipei, Taiwan, a city surrounded by mountains. Taipei combines dense urban life with mountains, forests, and hot springs remarkably close to the city center. Taipei 101 dominates the skyline and was the world's tallest building when it opened in 2004. At street level, however, temples, traditional markets, and night markets reveal a very different side of the city. Food is central to Taipei's identity, from beef noodle soup and dumplings to countless street food specialties. Surrounding mountains make nature unusually accessible for a major capital. Taipei succeeds because modern architecture and technology haven't erased the traditions underneath them. 50 places, and still, we've only scratched the surface. Asia contains more history, cultures, landscapes, and traditions than any single journey could possibly capture. From the temples of Kyoto and Angkor to the mountains of Nepal, the deserts of Jordan and Mongolia, the streets of Tokyo, and the tropical islands of Indonesia, every part of the continent tells a different story. And perhaps that's what makes Asia so extraordinary. There isn't one version of it. There are thousands. If you could choose just one place from this journey to visit next, where would you go? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoy discovering the history, geography, cultures, and remarkable places that shape our world, subscribe to Majestic Map. There's much more of the world still waiting to be explored.